Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, and welcome to the Mortgage Minute. Thanks very much for tuning in, for watching. We're on a bunch of social media. We also have a great radio show that you can see on YouTube as our podcast. We're on about 10 podcasts, but we broadcast that in 5 different cities across the South, East, the West, and certainly the Southwest. Anyway, here's the news as I see it. Interest rates. 3.21 for the 30-year fix, 2.60 for the 15, 2.85 for FHA, 3.13 for jumbo, 3.33 for the 5/1 ARM. The 10-year yield is down now at 1.439, vacillating between 1.6 and 1.4 for the better part of the last 2 weeks. A couple of things coming out from what I read on either Housing Wire, Mortgage News Daily, or certainly Yahoo Finance or a number of other financial sites. Observation. COVID is the reason for everything. Yes, it is. And we can blame governments and what they do and markets on what they do on how the response to the COVID pandemic is. So we had the Delta variant for the last 6 or 7 months. And now there's a new one, Omicron, come up and spook the markets mightily, causing a 1,000-point drop last week. We should see more of that as all governments and people in the regulatory process try to figure out where it's going, what's happening, and how to protect ourselves. Worrying about shutdowns, about stopping of economic progress in the recovery. All of these things weigh heavily on both the markets, that is the stock market, of course, and in general, what's happening at the Fed. What is happening at the Fed? Okay, let's look at that for a second. So at the Fed, Jerome Powell came out and said that we might be tapering more sooner than later. And why did he say that? Inflation, obviously. Inflation running high at 6% last month. We will get inflation, I guess, figures probably next week for November. And that's not a good thing, especially politically for anybody trying to stay in power. As you all know, Jerome Powell has been renominated to head the Fed for another 4 years, and Lael Brainard, his vice chair. They're both not competing. They're in agreement on a number of things. One is about how dovish and how hawkish one should be on inflation. And one of the things that was amusing on today's note was that Powell dropped the word transitory. Transitory, yes, from his vocabulary lexicon in describing what's happening with the markets and what's happening with inflation. So we will see taper happen more quickly, maybe end in May rather than June, or April rather than June. Is that a good thing? It could be for what's happening with the stock market. I mean, what's happening with inflation, and I think that particular thing is probably the most prevalent thing. It was really, and had been for 40 years, the most important thing the Fed did was keep inflation down. All right, let's move on. Mortgage profits, 8.9 or 89 basis points. Okay, what is mortgage profit? A company to offer you products has to make money in order to stay in business, and that's a given, right? We've seen a lot of consolidation. We've seen several companies go public, and we've seen some rather large companies, i.e. Quicken and United Wholesale, take a bulwark of what's happening in the mortgage market and become the huge behemoths they are. So if they're making money, possibilities or probabilities are that they will continue to offer good products to people who can obviously use them for either refinance or purchase. That's all true. So the fact that this 89 basis points being 100 basis points is 1% of the loan. You have a $100,000 loan, 100 basis points is 1% of the loan, $1,000. So if you're talking in terms of basis points and the fact that it rose in terms of the originator, in terms of the profit for those companies, that's a good thing. It means that those products will continue to be offered. Non-QM being the modus operandi for many, many lenders because they think that the ending of the stimulus, the tapering is going to end a lot of the products that were out there and end a lot of the ability of refinances. They need to get into the purchase market and tap into a whole new market that really hasn't been tapped into because mortgages have been so easy to get for most people, i.e. lenders won't get into that non-QM market. So non-QM market, yes, that's where we're heading, and those particular things are important in terms of overall business and profitability. Pending home sales up 7.5%. That's a big deal too. Now there are cautions to that particular market. Oh boy, we're up against it. 5 minutes already. Anyway, I'm Jeff Barton. That's what's happening in the mortgage market and the real estate market. We'll see you tomorrow.